there is a very specific, a very modern kind of anxiety that comes with dating.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that moment. You're sitting across from a total stranger. Maybe you met on an app. Maybe a friend set you up, and you're clutching a drink that cost, what, $18?
At least.
And your brain is just doing two things at once. On one track, the really loud track, you think, do they like me? Is my hair okay? Are we going to split the bill?
All the standard stuff, yeah.
But then there's that other track,
Yeah.
the much quieter sort of reptilian track. And it's thinking, if this person decides to reach across this tiny table and strangle me right now, where's the nearest exit?
It's the primal calculus of vulnerability. That's what it is. We dress it all up in nice clothes and, dim lighting and overpriced cocktails. But if you strip it down to its biological core, dating is essentially inviting a potential predator into your personal space and just hoping they're actually a herbivore.
That is a terrifying, but wow, a very accurate way to put it. And that exact tension, that razor-thin line between the promise of romance and the very real threat of danger, that is exactly where we are living today.
It really is.
We're doing a deep dive into a text that doesn't just, acknowledge that fear. It literally weaponizes it.
Yeah.
We're looking at the novel How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates by Shailee Thompson.
And specifically, we're just breaking down the first 12 chapters. And I have to say, this is not just a thriller. It's a dissertation on a genre. It's what happens when you take the structural beats of a romantic comedy, the meet cute, the quirky best friend, the search for the one, and you just smash them headfirst into the brutal, visceral rules of like a 1980s slasher movie.
It's Sex and the City meets Scream. But before we get into the blood and guts, and believe me, there's plenty of both, we need to establish our mission for this deep dive. We aren't just here to recap a spooky story. We are looking at how this text really deconstructs the rules of survival. We want to understand that psychological overlap between falling in love and, well, running for your life.
Exactly. Because the central argument of this book, and it creates this really fascinating intellectual backbone for all the core, is that those two things are not opposites at all.
No?
They're distant cousins.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Our protagonist is Jamie Prescott, and she is not your typical final girl. She's not just, trying to survive this scenario. She has theoretically studied it. She's a PhD student at Columbia.
Which is just a brilliant narrative device. Jamie's field of study is literally the intersection of slasher films and rom-coms. So when everything goes wrong, she isn't just reacting, she's basically footnoting her own trauma.
Footnoting her own trauma, I love that.
She has a pre-existing academic framework for the nightmare she is about to walk into.
Let's dig into that framework because Chapter 1, it opens right up with her dissertation, which is titled All's Fair in Love and Gore.
Such a great title.
It's a very kitschy title, but the theory underneath it is actually quite dense. She brings up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, for listeners who maybe haven't taken Psych 101 in a while or maybe just slept through it, can we break down how she applies that?
Sure. So, Abraham Maslow, he proposed that human motivation is basically arranged in a pyramid. At the very bottom, you've got your basic physiological needs, food, water, sleep, that kind of thing.
Right, the fundamentals.
The fundamentals. And right above that is safety and security. And then one level up from that, you have love and belonging. Jamie's whole argument is that slasher films and romantic comedies are the two genres that directly service those two foundational layers.
Okay, so slashers are about the safety tier.
Exactly. We watch horror movies because on some level, we want to see the threat neutralized. We want to experience that proxy anxiety of the killer chasing the victim and then that massive relief of survival. It reinforces our need for order, for walls, for security. And rom-coms, well, obviously, they target the love and belonging tier. We watch them to see the couple get together, reinforcing our own need for connection and for community.
But Jamie takes it a step further. She argues that structurally, the movies are basically identical.
Yes. They are both highly, highly formulaic. And I don't mean that as a criticism at all. The formula is the entire point.
The formula is the feature, not the bug.
Precisely. In both of these genres, there are very strict rules. If the protagonist follows the rules, if she's the good girl, if she's spunky but moral, if she overcomes the big misunderstanding, she wins. She gets the guy, or she survives the night.
And if you break the rules?
Punishment. Swift and absolute.
Right.
In a rom-com, you end up alone, crying in the rain while some sad montage plays. In a slasher, you end up dead in a garage with a pitchfork in your back.
That's a slightly different outcome.
It's just slightly. Jamie's thesis is that we find comfort in these predictable outcomes. We like knowing that if we just behave a certain way, the universe will, reward us.
Which is a comforting lie, isn't it? Because reality is rarely that structured. It's so much messier.
And that is the central tension of the entire book. Jamie knows the theory, she knows the script inside and out. But the question is, can you actually apply a doctoral thesis to a man with a knife who is standing right in front of you?
Can you footnote your way out of a murder?
Exactly. Can you?
Let's look at who Jamie is before the knife even comes out. She describes herself as a theatrical romantic. She loves film. She's the kind of person who gets nervous on a date and accidentally starts reciting facts about serial killers.
Which is such a classic adorable trait in a rom-com, right? It's meant to make her relatable and endearing. The clumsy, super smart girl.
Cool.
But in this context, it serves this dual purpose. It establishes her expertise. She knows that Jeffrey Dahmer picked up victims at clubs. She knows the statistics. It's all foreshadowing that her awkwardness is actually her survival kit. She's been prepping for this night her whole life without even knowing it.
And she has the perfect foil for this in her roommate, Laurie Hamilton. If Jamie is fiction, Laurie is pure reality.
Laurie is so crucial to the balance here. She loved documentaries. She hates rom-coms because she says they're lies. She is pragmatic, logical, completely grounded. She's the one who drags Jamie to this event in the first place because she trusts data.
Right. She has the statistic.
She literally says 78% of users are fed up with swiping. She treats dating like a numbers game, like a logistical problem that just needs to be solved.
It's so interesting how the book positions them. Because usually in a horror movie, the pragmatic one, the skeptic, is the one who dies first because they just refuse to believe that something supernatural is happening.
They're always saying ghosts aren't real right before a ghost gets them.
Exactly. But here, Laurie represents the audience member who would be screaming at the screen, "Just call the police. Why are you going upstairs?"
Right. But notice what happens later on. When the structure of the world just completely breaks, when the horror starts, Laurie freezes. Because reality has ceased to make any sense, logic doesn't apply to a massacre.
And that's when Jamie has to step up.
That's when Jamie, the fiction lover, has to take over. Because Jamie understands the narrative of violence. She knows the beats. She knows the tropes.
We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, though. We have to talk about where they're going. The venue. It's this club in Brooklyn called Serendipity.
Which, as the book points out, was formerly known as Craven.
Which just sounds like a place where you'd get food poisoning, honestly. But Serendipity is described with such intense sensory detail. It's a converted factory, 3 levels, and the decor. James calls it Moulin Rouge on LSD.
And the color palette is so vital here. It's all red. Red velvet curtains, lead gas lamps, flickering candles everywhere. Jamie even knows it has a bloody, beating heart vibe.
That's a very specific choice by the author. Red is the color of passion, sure. It's Valentine's Day, it's romance. But it is also the color of danger. It's a stop sign. It's blood.
It blurs the line immediately. The environment itself is telling us 2 different stories at the exact same time. It's saying, come here and fall in love, and also, come here and bleed.
And physically, the space is just a trap.
A total trap. It's a maze. There are all these little alcoves, heavy curtains, narrow corridors. It's designed for intimacy, places to steal a kiss. But those same architectural features create blind spots.
And a blind spot is a killer's best friend. And then you have the gimmick of the night. It's a phone-free speed dating event.
The digital detox.
The coat check girl literally takes their phones and locks them in a box. At the time, Jamie thinks it's, refreshing. No screens, just real human connection. But looking back...
It's tactical isolation. It's the first rule of any slasher movie.
How so?
Well, in the modern age, our phone is our lifeline. It's our flashlight, our map, our connection to 911. By removing the phones, the author forces these modern characters back into a pre-digital era. It's really the only way to make a classic slasher plot work today.
You have to cut the cord.
You have to cut the cord to raise the stakes.
So we have the girl, we have the theory, and we have the trap. Now let's talk about the bait. The event is 10 men, 10 women, 10 minutes per date. And Jamie meets a few characters that really, perfectly embodies the archetype she studies.
It's essentially a casting call for genre tropes, walking right up to her table. First, you have John.
John, the nice guy.
John is the rom-com ideal personified. He has that 80s Bill Pullman energy.
The floppy hair.
The floppy hair, the soft smile, a little bit self-deprecating. He immediately bonds with Jamie over her favorite movie, which is While You Were Sleeping. He makes her feel seen, validated.
He feels safe. That is the exact word she uses.
And safe is a very dangerous word in a thriller. In a rom-com, the safe guy is the end game. He's the stability you've been looking for after dating all those jerks.
Right. He's the reward.
He's the reward. But in a slasher, the safe guy is so often the wolf in sheep's clothing. Or at the very least, he's the sacrificial lamb designed to make you feel the loss of innocence when he inevitably dies.
And then, sitting at the complete opposite end of that spectrum, we have Wes.
Wes is pure dark romance. He's the guy your mother warned you about. Intense, muscular, you can see tattoos peeking out of his collar. He has bedroom eyes.
And their date is, it's distinct. This is where Jamie's social awkwardness really kicks into high gear. She just panics and starts talking about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Which is, I think we can all agree, an objectively terrible first date topic. Hi, nice to meet you. Let's talk about dismemberment.
Not a great opener.
But Wes's reaction is what's so fascinating. He doesn't laugh it off. He doesn't look at her like she's completely crazy. He gets intense. He leans in. He asks her what makes her happy.
He leans into the darkness with her.
He does. And there is an immediate physical tension there. Jamie describes it as feeling alert. With John, she relaxes, her shoulders go down. With Wes, her heart rate spikes.
And this brings up a real psychological concept, right? It's called a misattribution of arousal.
Yes, exactly, the suspension bridge effect. When you are in a high anxiety situation, fear, danger, adrenaline, your body produces all these physiological symptoms. Racing heart, sweaty palms, shortness of breath.
Okay.
Well, those are the exact same symptoms of sexual attraction. And the brain, it often confuses the two. So Jamie feels scared of Wes, but she interprets that feeling as chemistry. Or, maybe the chemistry is real precisely because of the danger he represents.
Okay, so we have one more archetype to discuss.
Yeah.
The guy who basically triggers the whole nightmare. Curtis.
Ugh, Curtis, the jerky guy. Every speed dating event has one. He's arrogant, he's dismissive. He makes that awful comment about Jamie's dress, that it would look better on his floor.
It's just so sleazy. But this moment is so critical for Jamie's character arc. Because she doesn't just take it. She doesn't do the nervous laugh, she snaps.
She does.
She looks him in the eye and tells him to shut his fucking mouth.
It's a true final girl moment before she even knows she's in that movie. She breaks the social contract of being the polite woman. It's incredibly empowering. But structurally, it serves as the inciting incident. Because the moment she reclaims her power, the world breaks.
The bell rings to end the date, the lights go out, and we hear a sound. Jamie describes it as a gargling noise.
And the sensory deprivation here is key. It's pitch black. You can't see a thing. So your hearing just sharpens. And all you can hear is that wet, visceral sound of life ending.
And then the lights come back up.
Yeah.
And Curtis is slumped over his table. His throat has been slashed.
And the visual contrast is just so striking. You have this romantic red velvet background, and now you have bright arterial spray all over it. It's the literal realization of her dissertation title. Love and gore have just collided right there on the table.
So, chaos. Complete chaos ensues. And this brings us to segment 3, the descent into chaos. I really want to talk about the crowd's reaction, because it's not uniform at all.
No, it follows the fight, flight, or freeze model almost perfectly. You have the runners, the people who immediately bolt for the stairs, and then you have the hiders.
And Jamie and Laurie, they're hiders.
And that decision saves their lives. Jamie, even in her panic, she remembers her own research. She cites rule #2, always hide for longer than you think you should.
And what about the runners?
The runners panic, they draw attention to themselves, they run blindly, probably right into the killer's path. By freezing and diving under that table, Jamie and Laurie essentially remove themselves from the initial kill zone. They make themselves small, they disappear.
And it turns out Curtis wasn't the only victim in that first wave.
No. When they finally peek out from under the table, they realize the staff is dead. Both bartenders, Marion, the event host, all dead.
This changes everything.
It changes the profile of the killer immediately. This isn't a simple crime of passion against Curtis. This is a tactical operation. The killer took out the control elements first. The staff knows the exits. The staff has keys. The staff can call for help. By eliminating them, the killer establishes total dominance over the environment.
It's a kill box.
Precisely. He has sealed the perimeter and neutralized the guards. Now, the daters are just livestock waiting for the slaughter.
A small group of survivors then sort of coalesces in the basement. It's a very mixed bag of people. We have Jamie and Laurie, of course.
Yeah.
We have Wes, the dark, brooding guy. John, the nice guy. Stu, who is basically a lumberjack version of a jerk.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Campbell, a really nervous guy who Jamie thinks looks like Norman Bates, which is not a great sign. And a few other women.
And the dynamics in this little group are just fascinating. Wes immediately steps up. He grabs a weapon, a broken chair leg, and he starts issuing orders.
He becomes the alpha.
Right. In a disaster, humans naturally look for a leader. And Wes looks the part. He's calm, he's competent, he's willing to be violent when he needs to be. But in a slasher film context, the leader is very often a red herring.
How so?
You have to ask yourself, is he taking charge to protect them? Or is he taking charge to herd them?
And Jamie grabs a weapon too. A broken Kahlua bottle.
Which is such a great, gritty detail. A jagged glass bottle is a nasty, nasty weapon. It's sticky, it's messy. It shows that Jamie isn't paralyzed by fear. She is actively applying her theoretical knowledge to the real world. She tells Laurie, we need a weapon. That's rule #3, find a weapon.
So they decide the basement is a tomb, that they're just sitting ducks down there. They need to move. They form what they call an elephant parade. Wes is at the front, everyone's holding hands, and they start moving up to the ground floor.
And that transition from the basement to the ground floor is so eerie. The romantic music has stopped. It's completely silent. But that juxtaposition of the normal club upstairs with the memory of the slaughter downstairs, it just creates this immense dread.
And their fears are confirmed. They find out they're trapped. The front doors are locked, and it needs a keypad code to open.
Again, just confirming the tactical planning.
Yeah.
The killer knew the security system. He didn't just stumble in here and get lucky. This was planned.
And then they go to the code check, the logical next step to get their phones, and they find Colette's friend, the coat check girl.
Dead, with a meat cleaver to the forehead.
It's so brutal. But the bigger blow, in a way, is the lockbox with the phones. It's gone.
That is the moment that hope really dies. If the phones were just broken, maybe, just maybe you could fix one. But the killer physically removed the lockbox. He has stripped them of her voice. It's total and complete isolation.
And this leads to a fracture in the group. Stu, the lumberjack guy, he starts challenging Wes's leadership. He wants to split up. He thinks they're just sitting ducks if they stay together.
Stu represents the panic response. He's aggressive because he's terrified. He wants to do something, anything, even if it's the stupidest possible thing.
Yeah.
And splitting up is slasher suicide 101. It is the worst possible move you can make.
And Jamie steps in here. She actually verbally cites rule #5, don't split up.
And this is a key moment for Jamie's authority within the group. She stands up to this big, intimidating guy, and Wes backs her up. It creates this unspoken alliance between Jamie and Wes. They become the parents of this deeply dysfunctional survivor family.
But they do end up compromising.
Wow.
They split into two large groups to search for an exit. Wes, Jamie, Laurie, and Campbell in one group. Stu, John, Danny, and Colette in the other.
It's risky, but staying in one spot is also dangerous, so you can see the logic. They need to find a back exit, a service entrance, anything. But notice the grouping. The narrative deliberately keeps Jamie and Wes together, and it separates John from them.
Right. John goes with Stu, and that becomes very, very important later on. Let's move to segment 5, because as they're searching these dark, narrow corridors, the whole tone of the horror shifts. It stops being just a random slaughter, and it becomes weird.
The rose petals.
The rose petals. Wes and Jamie's group, they find two more bodies, a guy named Drew and a redhead. But they are surrounded by a trail of fresh red rose petals.
This is the game changer. Until this moment, you could argue this was a robbery gone wrong or maybe a disgruntled employee seeking revenge. But rose petals, that's not random. That is ritual. That is performance.
And Jamie immediately connects this to a news report she heard back in Chapter 1, the Brooklyn serial killer.
The BSK, as the media calls him. The report mentioned that there's a killer active in the area who leaves rose petals at his crime scenes. But, and this is a very big but, he usually targets lone women walking home at night.
So why attack a speed dating event with 20 people inside? It's a totally different MO.
That is the exact question Jamie asks. Is he escalating? Serial killers, they often evolve. They get bored with their old patterns. They need a bigger high, a bigger thrill. Moving from a single vulnerable victim to a mass casualty event inside a locked building, that is a massive leap in ambition, for lack of a better word.
Or as the expert, do you think it suggests something else entirely?
I think it suggests he's adapting his ritual to the environment. He's treating the club like his own personal stage. The petals, they lead them in a circle. right back to the dance floor. He's not just killing them, he's guiding them. He's playing with them like a cat with a mouse.
And amidst all this terror, they're literally looking at dead bodies and scattered rose petals, and Jamie has this internal monologue where she realizes she's still attracted to Wes.
It's the sheer absurdity of the human condition, isn't it? We don't stop being people just because we're about to die.
She's actually thinking, I know I shouldn't be thinking about his forearms right now, but...
Well, and it tracks perfectly with her love and gore thesis. The proximity of death makes us crave life, and sex is the ultimate affirmation of life. Plus, like we discussed, the adrenaline is just scrambling her brain's signals. She's clinging to him for safety, but it feels like intimacy.
And he shares something with her, too.
He does. Wes uses this little coping mechanism. He counts to 3 before doing anything scary. He shares that with her. It's like their own little secret language in the middle of this nightmare.
Yeah. But then, just as they're forming this bond, the group starts to shrink. Campbell, the nervous Norman Bates guy, he just vanishes.
He's there 1 minute, gone the next. In a mystery, a missing person is always a massive red flag. Did he just run away out of cowardice? Is he hiding somewhere? Or is he the killer slipping away to go murder someone else?
The call is coming from inside the house.
Exactly. The paranoia starts to set in. The killer isn't just outside the door. He's probably one of them.
And then they return to the main dance floor, and they find John standing there, all alone.
This is the big suspect moment. John claims that Stu took the girls back down to the basement, which, again, is a terrible idea, and he stayed behind to search by himself. And he's holding a first aid kit.
Which is such a classic prop, isn't it? It's the perfect excuse. I was just looking for bandages. But it could also mean he was cleaning his own blood off himself.
Yeah.
Or a weapon.
Let's look at the nice guy archetype in horror. In Scream, who was the killer? It was Billy, the boyfriend, the guy who seems sensitive and safe. John is almost too perfect. He's too gentle, too understanding. And statistically, in these movies, the person who separates from the group and mysteriously survives is usually the one holding the knife.
So we have Wes, the obvious threat, who is acting like a hero. And we have John, the safe choice, who is acting incredibly suspicious. The book is just gaslighting us.
It's forcing the reader and Jamie to question their own genre instincts. Jamie wants to trust John because he fits her rom-com fantasy. She wants to mistrust Wes because he fits the slasher villain profile. But reality is completely inverting those roles.
The remaining survivors regroup on the dance floor. And Jamie and Laurie, they decide to draw a map of the club on a cocktail napkin, trying to find a forgotten exit or a weak point. This is smart.
Knowledge is power. They are trying to impose logic on absolute chaos. It's a way of regaining some small amount of control.
And Jamie decides it's time to stop being polite about her knowledge. She gathers everyone and literally lectures them on the rules of slasher movies.
It's such a wonderfully meta moment, and she tells them, don't run up the stairs because you'll just get trapped. Watch your back. Sobriety equals survival.
And Billy, who is this sort of mean girl character, she just mocks her. She asks, are you crazy? This isn't a movie.
Which is always the fatal flaw of the skeptic character. Refusing to accept the genre you are trapped in doesn't save you from it. Jamie is the only one who accepts the genre. She accepts that the rules of reality have changed.
And just as she is explaining all this, we get the final image of the chapters we're covering. The text shifts focus, maybe to the killer's point of view, or at least to describe the mask.
The holes around his eyes aren't circles, they're hearts.
That line, it just gave me chills. It is such a perverted, twisted image.
It encapsulates the entire theme of the book in one single image. A heart is a symbol of love, of empathy, of connection. But here, it's a mask. It's a facade for a predator. He is literally looking at his victims through the empty lens of a heart.
Do you think it implies he thinks he's loving them in some way? Like, I'm loving you to death.
It's certainly a strong possibility. The Brooklyn serial killer leaves rose petals. He's a romantic fetishist. He likely views the act of murder as an act of twisted intimacy. The last kiss, so to speak, delivered with a blade.
Or maybe it's just mockery. They all came to this club looking for love. They wanted to find a heart, so he's giving them one right before he kills them.
It's a profound irony, a cruel, dark, and bloody irony.
So we are 12 chapters in. We have a significant body count. We have a trapped group of increasingly terrified survivors.
Yeah.
We have a killer with a heart-shaped mask. And we have a love triangle brewing in the middle of it all.
It's a complete powder keg.
I have to ask you, as an expert in this kind of narrative structure, who do you suspect at this point?
It really is the million-dollar question. If we follow the rules of the genre that Jamie loves so much, first, Wes is almost certainly the red herring. He's too obviously dangerous. He's the protector. He'll likely survive until the very end, or more likely, die sacrificing himself for Jamie.
Okay, so not Wes.
Probably not. Second, John is the prime suspect. The nice guy twist is a staple of the post-90s slasher. His behavior is completely unaccounted for during the murders. He's suspiciously clean.
And Campbell.
The nervous guy.
Campbell's the wild card. The quiet ones are always dangerous. But just running away and hiding in a toilet stall is also just realistic cowardice. He could be either.
What about a curveball? What if it's one of the women?
The killer is a woman twist is rare, but it can be very effective. Billy, the mean girl, she's certainly apathetic enough, but does she have the physical strength to take down a grown man like the bouncer and drag his body? It's a stretch.
Unless there are two killers, screen style. Now that solves the physical limitations. It opens up a lot of possibilities. Maybe John and someone else. It would fit the meta commentary perfectly.
I want to go back to something Jamie said in her dissertation at the very beginning. Predictable outcomes appeal to basic instinctual human needs. Do you think that's why we, the readers, are enjoying this story, even though it's so gruesome?
Oh, absolutely. We live in a chaotic world. The news is terrifying and seems so random. When we open a book like How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates, we know on a subconscious level that there is a structure. We know there will be a final girl. We know the mask will eventually come off. We know that evil will be identified, if not completely defeated.
So the horror genre is actually optimistic in a weird way.
In a very twisted way, yes. It posits a world where evil is tangible. It's fightable. And it's killable. In real life, evil is often systemic or bureaucratic or invisible. In a slasher, you can hit evil in the face with a broken Kahlua bottle.
Laughs. That is surprisingly comforting when you put it like that.
It is. It's a fantasy of control.
I also love the focus on female friendship in these chapters, because really, the central romance so far isn't Jamie and Wes or Jamie and John. It's Jamie and Laurie.
They are the absolute heartbeat of the story. They have that nonverbal communication that only best friends have. Laurie's the one who drags Jamie out to have fun. Jamie is the one who drags Laurie through the horror to survive. They balance each other perfectly.
Jamie says rule #5 is don't split up, and they are the only two people who are strictly adhering to that. They are a unit.
And loyalty is a survival trait in these stories. The selfish guy like Stu or the coward like Campbell, they end up isolated and picked off. But the friends who stick together, they have a force multiplier. They have 4 eyes instead of 2. They can watch each other's backs.
So if you were in this situation, and be honest, which archetype do you think you would be? Are you Jamie, quoting the rules? Are you Wes, grabbing a chair leg and taking charge?
Oh.
Or are you Campbell, vanishing into the night?
I'd love to think I'm Jamie with a cool head and all the answers. But honestly, I am probably Laurie. I would be in shock. I'd be trying to find a logical explanation for the blood on the walls until it was way too late. I would need a Jamie to grab my hand and scream, "Run!"
I think I'm the narrator. I'm just observing from a very safe distance, calmly describing the carnage.
The safest place to be.
Absolutely. But for Jamie, there is no safe distance. She is in the thick of it. And the real tragedy is she came there to find love. She just wanted a meat cute.
And she got a meat cleaver instead.
Groans.
Oh, that was terrible.
I'm sorry, I had to. It was right there.
But it brings up a final provocative thought for our listeners. Jamie's dissertation asks if knowing the theory actually helps in reality. What do you think? Does watching 1,000 horror movies actually prepare you for real violence? Or does it just give you a false sense of confidence that gets you killed faster? That is the absolute crux of the book, isn't it? Theory is clean. Reality is messy and bloody. Knowing you should run is very different from having the cardio to actually get away. Knowing you should stab the killer is different from having the stomach to plunge a piece of glass into another human being.
Right.
Jamie is finding out that her intellect is a shield, but it's not a weapon. She has to find the weapon inside herself. She has to become the action hero, not just the scholar.
She has to stop being the theatrical romantic from the beginning of the book and truly become the final girl.
She has to rewrite her own ending in real time.
Well, we will certainly be watching and reading with bated breath to see if she can make it to the credits.
Indeed.
This has been a fascinating look into the mechanics of fear and of romance and where they violently intersect. The book is How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates. If you haven't picked it up, consider this your trigger warning and also your recommendation.
Just maybe don't read it while you're at a speed dating event.
That is very solid advice. Stay safe out there, watch your back, and always, always check for the exits.
And definitely beware of men in heart-shaped masks.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.